Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I've enjoyed the process of not only book writing, but hearing the feedback from people that have read my book and maybe have learned a couple things, whether it's about life and business or just about me. So I do appreciate the feedback there. And you can get a copy of that book right now on my website, Live Life Driven. And part of that process, I was working with a company called Dream Starters Publication, and the owner's name is Mike Fallett. And I've met so many wonderful people through Mike and just have grown my network. He's got a group called The Inner Circle, which he meets once a week, does these great feedback calls and bringing people together, like-minded. And today I've got a guest on the line. His name is Tyler McBroom. And Tyler, I just want to welcome you to the show and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. I especially love when somebody like Mike introduces me to people. I work with David Meltzer quite a bit, and he does the same. And, there's so much depth in the guests that he sends my way because he understands who I am, what I like, where I stand in life. And he's like, I got the perfect guest for you. So thank you for being on. And I'm just wondering if you can give us some background on yourself and kind of some early beginnings for you and what some of the twists and turns you made.
Sure. Yeah, I've definitely had a fair few twists and turns. So I'm a CPA, which is Certified Public Accountant by trade. So I essentially help business owners figure out how to pay as little tax as legally possible and then understand their numbers so that it actually makes sense and it's not a foreign language to them. And so been doing that for a little over a decade now. And I'm business partners with Tony Robbins, the personal development speaker and trainer. As in part of his global accounting advisors. My firm is one of two firms in the United States, and there's a handful of other firms around the world. So I get the opportunity to teach at his events about taxes, and that's really what kind of my mission is. In addition to helping people pay less tax, it's really kind of demystifying it and trying to teach it in a way that business owners feel empowered by it. And as far as the twists and turns go, actually, my degree is not in accounting. My degree was in creative writing. I got an English degree way back in the day. And because I had a communications professor tell us that it didn't matter what degree you got, just that you got a degree for your career prospects. And of course, that was in the run up before the crash where all you had to do was be a warm body and you could get a job. And then I graduated in 2008. It was a little different story, and English degree didn't get you much.
Yeah.
So kind of, I actually wrote a novel way back before I wrote my actual business book, but and so got tired of being broke, went back to business school. And after trying a few different things, realized that, maybe accounting wasn't so bad. So, cause my dad was owned a CPA firm as well. So kind of grew up in the business.
What kind of influence did your parents have on you as you started making decisions in life? Were they heavy-handed or kind of let you do your thing, succeed and fail?
A little bit of both, I'd say. They let me do my thing, but I was definitely heavily encouraged to go into the kind of CPA profession. When I chose English as a degree, they supported it and kind of said, all right, we'll let you finish school. But at the same time, it definitely came up in conversation a lot. You sure you don't want to just take a few more accounting courses and get your accounting degree?
Yeah.
So I think that they let me fall on my face, if you will. But they also were kind of sharing their feedback and opinions on where they thought I should go. And I think it was really from a point of view of, my dad was able to provide a great life for us growing up from that profession and being self-employed, owning his own CPA firm. So I think that's kind of where it probably came from.
Now, I don't want to assume that your dad's still around, but Are you getting advice from dad now that you've got your own place and he's been there, done that?
Yeah, so I was actually partners with my dad for about 5 years. He started his first firm when I was 3 months old, and then I worked for a couple other firms, and then kind of got into the family business, and was built that, and I helped build that from, it was four of us when I became a partner, and then last summer when I moved out to Florida to just leave California behind entirely, it was almost 50 people in a matter of 5 years. And so that was, we learned a lot kind of growing that together, and it was a really cool thing to do. And now I'm kind of doing my own thing. So it's been a cool kind of transition and journey through
Yeah.
that process.
What advice would you have for aspiring accountants, getting into the business? Is there a certain set of skills that you think that they should possess outside of being maybe good with numbers? But what advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, so being good with numbers is probably actually one of the least needed skills. I mean, you got to have a little bit of piece, but really it's a service business, so people skills is huge.
Yeah.
So I would say, as far as advice for, and this is true of any industry, is figure out what you want to do and go work for a company that you're going to get that experience. Like, a lot of people think in the accounting industry, it's big four or bust. You got to go work for the big four, and that's what you get on your resume. But if you actually want to work with small business owners as your career, or maybe own your own practice one day as your career, you're going to get way better experience working for the small shop than you would for the big four, because you're going to get a breadth of experience. And I think that's true of a lot of different industries. And everyone thinks they need to go get the big name on their resume, and sometimes that's more of an ego thing than it is a practical experience thing.
Yeah.
And so as far as the skills to know, definitely communication. So much of our world is written now. It's emails, it's speaking, and so many accountants speak accountantese to their clients. They don't speak English to their clients. And so I think figuring out how to communicate things simply and not just try to sound smart, you're going to connect with people a lot better. And again, that's true not just in accounting. Like, I know when you go to like the auto shop, and no one knows what, at least I'm not really a car guy. So when I go to the auto shop, I have no idea what the heck they're talking about. But sometimes there's guys who will treat you with respect and speak to you directly and plainly. And then there's guys who try to sound smarter than you. And so I think it's, speaking and meeting your clients where you're at, or where they're at, and speaking the same language as them is a huge skill. So, and I think that's where the creative writing degree actually served me well, and kind of allowed me to be sort of a unicorn in the accounting space, because I wrote more books and essays and, all that, short stories, than probably 99% of other accountants out there.
You brought up a really good point about the big four. I had a business colleague that went to one of the big four, and we were on a project together. And I don't think he had any real world experience, because he went, high scores in college, went straight to the big four. I don't know if he ever actually put together a cash report or any types of spreadsheets or anything like that. Because when you really dug into it, on a smaller level, he didn't really know how to do it. Because he spent his whole life managing or at the top because of high grades and then into the big four. And you make a really good point. Like, sometimes you just got to get into the small shop and learn how to not only deal with people, but just the basics too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so my kind of first firm that I worked for, when I said, all right, I'm doing this, I'm going into public accounting, it was me, the owner, and an admin. And he ended up setting up Yelp really well. So we were getting a bunch of new clients, and he was already maxed out on meetings with all the existing clients. And so I was my second tax season into the business, and I did 100 new client meetings during one tax season. And talk about getting some hands-on experience. Like, when clients ask you the question there face to face, and you don't know it, it's pretty traumatic. And
Yeah.
So you learn the answer, and you figure it out, and it sticks in your brain because it was traumatic not knowing. And then just getting that, kind of understanding how to communicate on the fly. And never would have gotten that experience at a big firm, because normally you got to go, put in your 5 to 8 years before you're even allowed to send an email to a client. And so, yeah.
What is it? This is probably more of just a personal question, but what is it about your industry, whether that's accounting or tax, anything in your, why is it so hard to find an accountant these days? I mean, I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. I have one, and
Uh-huh.
my friend's like, if you've got one and they got time, I'd love to meet them. Like, there's such a desperation to
Oh
find
man.
accountants. I don't even want to say good accountants, just accountants in general. What's happened in
Yeah.
your industry the last 10 years?
I think it's the same reason that I didn't go into the business. I think that the industry doesn't market itself very well as like a cool place to work, right? So part of it is the kind of the grinding tax season hours that are busy season hours for auditors that they're known for with the seasonal business. We've kind of structured our firm a little different where we only work with business owners and we do year-round work, so it kind of helps balance that out. But I think that, and then it's not the sexy job. Everyone wants to go do social media marketing or what, like
Mm-hmm.
go work for Facebook or Google or, so I think the top talent doesn't go to the professions anymore. The top talent goes to kind of the tech space or the marketing space. And so I think of it like the top athletes. The reason like the United States is terrible at soccer is not because we have a shortage of athletes. It's because in the United States, all the good athletes are going to the NFL or they're going to the NBA, right? Maybe Major League Baseball. It's the same thing. Like the top athletes in the working world or the top minds. They're going to tech. They're going to anything but accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of gray hairs in this industry, and there's not a lot of people coming up to fill their spots. And so pretty much, yeah, if you're a warm body and you open up a firm, it's not that hard to find some clients. And then if you do a good job for people and actually be proactive and actually advise them and help them, and then it's just like shooting fish in a barrel. It's pretty crazy. Like all the CPA firm owners that I know that are smart at what they do are just overwhelmed with work right now.
Yeah, yeah, they're getting what they want and working as often as they want. I will give some advice though to all the accounts out. Put some music on in your office, maybe some art on the walls. I walk in, I can hear a pin drop, and
Yeah, I know.
like I could never work here.
Yeah, I know. I try to add a little dimension to the background. Now it's a virtual office. It's all virtual. We have clients all over the country. So
Yeah, of course. Well, I appreciate hearing about your background and where you were at. Now, I like to bring value to my listeners, and I was working my way through your website a little bit here before the call. And can you talk about your company, what you do specifically? Then I want to dig into some of the resources that you have on your website because I think they're great opportunities for people to review.
yeah, so my CPA firm essentially does everything related to the number side of your business in your life. So that includes, of course, preparing the tax returns and then tax planning, which basically means we meet before year end or throughout the year, look at your numbers and give you a list of action items to lower your tax bill and actually be a profit center for you.
Hmm.
Because most people think that you only meet with your CPA when it's tax time, you got to file the return. That's actually the least effective time a year to meet with your CPA because
Yeah.
we're just telling you how well you did or didn't do last year rather than moving forward and helping you lower your taxes. So tax prep, tax planning, we do the monthly accounting because you've got to you got to know your numbers. That's one of the first steps in being a true business owner and not just kind of being self-employed and owning a job is knowing your numbers and making decisions from your numbers. And then we do virtual fractional CFO work, which is essentially not just reporting your numbers, but helping you interpret them and become more profitable. And looking at benchmarking reports and analysis and basically helping plan your cash flow. And then the last piece is the assurance side of things, which is audits, reviewed financial statements. Basically, if you need it for the bank because you're trying to get a loan and you need to verify your numbers, or if you're going to you try to sell your business. A lot of people don't realize that you can come to the table as a much more sophisticated seller if you've got a few years of audited financial statements,
Hmm.
because that shows that these numbers are accurate, these are correct. And so that's one of the best things you can do if you have any inclination to sell in the next few years, is to go get at least a reviewed financial